Yo vi más de 10 amigos míos que fueron muertos, asesinados en las calles, y los que no fueron asesinados, la mayoría terminaron o en drogas fuertes o encarcelados. I was born in the capital of the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo, in 1956. I grew up in a poor urban area. My mother had immigrated to New York in the early 60s in search of the American dream, looking for a better life for me, for my family, and for her. She had been divorced since I was age 2, that my father abandoned us, and I never saw him again until I was age 14. I had a very happy childhood because I grew up around many kids. So no matter how poor you are, when you are raised with other kids of your same social or similar background, all you do is enjoy life. I used to play baseball every day, play top, play hide and seek. My mother immigrated to the United States. I must have been maybe around age 4 years old. And I didn't miss her that much because I had maternal aunts that were like my mother. And I had the best person in the world, which was my grandmother. And since I was the baby of the house, I remember being pampered. Everybody used to take care of me, all my older cousins. And it was such a shock when I got here. Luckily that there was a lot of kids in the building. And I was able to start school within a few days. When I first started school, it was a very traumatic experience for me. I was supposed to start in the 6th grade, but due to my age, I was demoted to the 4th grade. And even though it was fun, because it was a lot of kids, including some Dominicans, but most were Puerto Rican, Irish, and Italian, I soon lost interest in school. And by the 6th grade, I barely made it. And because of my age, I could not be in elementary school. I was promoted to the 7th grade, where I went on to fail 3 times in a row. And then again, because of my age, without any merits, I was promoted to high school. I started my introduction to gangs after the 6th grade. During the late 6th grade, because in our neighborhoods at that time, in order for you to be able to hang out in the streets, you had to belong to a gang. Any kid that did not belong to a gang was bullied, picked on, insulted. The gang in my neighborhood in Washington Heights was the Savage Nomads. And I was able to climb to the position of warlord. But the warlord in the gang is more like the Secretary of State. And one of my responsibilities was that I had the privilege to walk into enemy territory, to talk about any issues, and also to plan for the rules for gang wars. I was lucky that when I started the gangs, there was also the beginning of the graffiti movement. In the late 60s, a writer by the name of Julio, 204, Taki 183, Joe 182nd, they would write little tags all over New York City. And these kids were becoming legends because anywhere we go, we will see their names. So one day I wrote my name. My friends gave me the name of Cat because they said I was very agile. So I took on the name of Cat, and since I lived on 187, to disguise my identity, I only used the 87. My life after the 6th grade was dedicated to graffiti. All of my friends were doing graffiti, and I became like a superstar. I used to go to the train stations, Brooklyn, Manhattan, and I was greeted like a hero. And other kids older than me and my age would have these pads that they would ask for our autographs. My mother always used to instill dreams on all of us. All of my cousins would say they're going to be doctors, lawyers, and my hobby, I said I was going to be a doctor. And one day I got bitten by a dog, and I was taken to our local doctor, Dr. Miranda. And when they took me to see him, I was awed by everybody surrounding me and looking at him healing my wound. And that day I said, I'm going to become a doctor. My life took a drastic change when I met Hugo Martinez, a sociology student at CUNY. He had the theory that graffiti writers were not vandals. His theory was that these were highly motivated kids with no purpose in life, but that they wanted to be known and be somebody. And once he arrived in Writers Corner on 180th Street and Audubon Avenue in New York City, he invited us to City College to paint a mural. The New York Times gave us a whole page, and the title was Graffiti Writers Paint a Mural in City College. They started narrating the story, and after that, we became famous. Once I passed my GED, I tried to apply to many universities. The summer of 1976, one of my uncles that lived in Baltimore said, why don't you come to Baltimore? Over here it's easier to study because you're going to leave all your friends behind. So when I applied to Towson State University, the interview asked me what I wanted to be. I said I wanted to be a doctor. She said, no, you can't be that because you have a high school diploma. You should consider a technical career. I said, no, I want to be a doctor. She said, look, these are the courses that you have to take. This is called pre-med. And when I saw the word anatomy, I said, I want to take that course. She said, no, you can't take that course because first you got to take another course. And I said, oh, okay. Then I saw the word, and the word was biology. And I asked her, and what does biology mean? And she said, bio means life. By the time I left, I just saw it in her face, like, this poor kid. Once I finished medical school, I returned to New York City, recently married. My mother had a house in Queens, because that was her dream. Since I was recently married, my mother didn't have no money. I started driving a taxi for 2 years. Then I went on to work as a parent educator. And from there, my mother offered to refinance her house in order so I can go to Mexico City and study at Mexico's Children's Hospital. Once I got accepted into pediatric residency at Mexico's Children's Hospital, during my second year, I applied to the United States and I matched Children's Hospital, Wisconsin, and at the Mount Sinai School of Medicine at Elmhurst Hospital. And by July 1st of 1988, I started my first year as a resident in pediatrics. After working for many years as an emergency room physician at Elmhurst Hospital and at Children's Hospital in New York, my friends and mentors, Dr. Victor Peralta and Emilio Villegas, introduced me to private practice. It was an amazing experience because they always used to tell me that, look, the pediatrician is like the family physician. Everybody asks the pediatricians. And more important, he says the pediatricians in private practice serve as a role model because most people are used to seeing doctors that don't look like them. So anytime we encounter a Spanish-speaking a person, an Afro-American, or people from other nationalities, they were fascinated by the way that we treated them. Once I decided to go into private practice, my mother, for the second time, she mortgaged the house in Queens. And with that money, we set up a practice on 150th Street. I called it Pediatrics 2000 because I wanted to create the most modern pediatric practice in Washington Heights. And we did. And within a few months, we were the biggest primary care private pediatric practice. And soon we branched out to other locations in the South Bronx and in Washington Heights. Once I was in practice for a few years, I again met up with Hugo Martinez. So Hugo proposed to me that, hey, why don't we do an art gallery and combine it with the clinic? And for that, we needed a bigger space. And we found this space. Hugo saw all the possibilities. He says, wow, we can have a lounge here, we can have an art gallery, we can have a playground, and we can do something that has never been done before. And this is how All City was born. Pediatrics 2000 has been affiliated with SOMOS Community Care since it was founded. The important thing about SOMOS is that it's a network of community physicians dedicated to providing services to the most vulnerable populations in the communities that have been traditionally marginated, underserved, communities with high incidence of poverty, asthma, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, cardiac disease. And SOMOS has physicians from all nationalities that are dedicated to providing the same services to underserved communities. Everybody needs a hero, and I think that's one of the most important factors in achieving one's goal. And my hero was my mother. Ever since I arrived in the United States, I saw my mother working at 2 jobs. She used to work in the garment district in the morning, and she used to work at Bloomingdale's as a housekeeping. As a janitor, my mother used to leave the house at 5 o'clock in the morning and return at 11 o'clock, past 11 o'clock at night, sometimes 6 days a week. And that was my main motivation. I said, I'm going to be somebody. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to make my mother proud. And I'm going to give her everything that she dreamed of. I am most proud of seeing these kids that came to us as newborns. And now many of them are nurses, engineers. We have some doctors, lawyers. But more importantly, I feel that there's a bond between patients and doctors. Our job is to make the families feel at home and treat them with the same courtesy, decency, and respect that you will get when you walk into an office on Fifth Avenue. When I look back on my life, I feel that I am blessed every day, and I am so satisfied because every time that I see a parent calls me in the middle of the night to ask me a question, and once when I hang up the phone, they feel that they got the information that they needed. When a parent comes to me having problems at home with their kids, and I get to talk to these students, and every time I inspire just one kid to change his life, that is a satisfaction that cannot be described in words, in money, in fame. It's just an overwhelming feeling that when I go to bed at night, I feel like, yes, I did it.